I'm going the right direction by saying that Genesis 1 is a home story, not a house story. Okay, that becomes a good stepping stone to the next idea, because science definitely tried to present a house story. Science is not about a home story, science is about a house story.
Mhm.
Um, if people read Genesis 1 as a house story, and then they put alongside it science as a house story, they have the potential of saying, well, these are conflicting house stories. Okay, but if you accept the premise that Genesis 1 is a home story, then it's not making any statements about the house story, except that God did it. But that's about agency, not about his mechanisms. Science is a house story, and it can't talk about agency. It's more interested in mechanisms. And so, in that sense, they're very different stories. It's still both potentially legitimate stories, because a house story and a home story can stand next to each other. But if the Bible doesn't tell you anything about the house story other than God's agency, and science doesn't try to tell you about the home story and is interested in the mechanisms of the house story, then we can see that we're not in a conflicting situation. A question like the age of the earth is a house story question. And if the Bible is not telling a house story, it doesn't answer that question. And therefore, it doesn't give a conflicting answer to science's answer about the age of the earth, a house story question. And so that home house distinction, I think, can help us. Now, that does not force on people a particular view of science. It, in fact, goes the other direction. It opens up and says you could adopt any number of different views about science, and it wouldn't make a difference because that's just trying to
Mhm.
talk about how we understand the house story. And the Bible's home story doesn't impose some requirements on that whatever house story that you might try to adopt. So, in that sense, I think it can be very helpful. It opens up alternatives that people who have been reading the text as a house story have not been willing to consider because they felt like, as a house story, the Bible contradicted them. But if it's not a house story, then there are other options available. And you just have to assess, is it good science or not?